is the biggest use of OPM I've ever seen. Other people's money. Thank you, sir. Whoever said that. Awesome. I'll do as much of the jokes as possible, all right? No, help me. Let's do it. OPM! I mean, the fact that you guys aren't practicing what I would call the 4 E's. Social media is the easiest thing. Half of my leads for the show, for my speaking, all the things that we do come from social media. It's unbelievable. 4 E's. First of all, engage. Engage. Just put up something. Say something. Take a picture of a new instrument and tweet it out. Last week, I had a picture, someone texted me of a guy about bacon. And it said, I broke my New Year's resolution. It was a picture of this guy that snapped a selfie. He had snapped and it said, exercise, eggs are a side for bacon. Right? Obviously, that is coming from a vegetarian who's running this out. Build a body like this, eating just vegetables. A body like this is eye candy. Well, don't laugh at that. This eye candy is just super chunky size. All right, here we go. So, I was like, engage! The picture, I shared it on my Facebook. It got 58,000 shares, 350,000 likes. I'm going to the breakfast buffet every day, just taking pictures of bacon. Then you want to educate, you want to have a conversation with the folks that you're doing business with. Educate. I mean, who better to educate than you folks? About the love of music, about the need for music, what it can do for you, how it does it, and the way in which you can actually do it yourself, even if you're a listener like me. And then you want to have some excitement. You know, I was backstage and listening to them play and warm up. I took a video of it. I can't wait to get off the stage later on and share that video of what it was like to listen to them play backstage. Because that's going to be my 4th E. Evangelize. It's real simple. That's all we got to do. It's the biggest use of OPM you've ever seen in your life, and why aren't you using it? See, what we have to learn to do is adapt, change, or die. There is no other choice other than that, to adapt, change, or die in our business, the way in which we have to run those things. And we've got to make sure that we can do it. I'm not talking about driving change for change's sake. I mean, who gets up in the morning and says, I can't wait to be stupid? No one. You know, no one gets up and says, we're going to lock in the steering wheel, we're going to lock in the brake, we're going to lock in the gas. I'm talking about driving change. Change of the organization, change the way in which we need to lead and do. And no matter how many times we've set up the plans, we always have these plans. Some of us do have plans. And we start to figure out this is what it's going to look like from point A to point B, but it never looks that way. And it never will. And I've run organizations with budgets of, I had at my disposal $17 billion. And even when I had plans, they never looked like the left-hand side of the chart. They always looked like the right. I've bought and sold 250 businesses. I've owned my own small business. Franchises I've bought and sold, started. They always look like the right-hand side of the chart. It's never going to be the same. It's never going to work perfectly. We just need to understand that and get over it. So what I want you to do is be agents of change, or leaders, or what I like to refer to as clock changers. I was so excited to go to work at Kodak when I first got picked to become the chief marketing officer. I was so excited that I showed up a week early. Oh, I swear, before I passed the urine test or anything. Now we're fighting this group. I jumped on a plane and I flew to Rochester, New York. There you go, Rochester. Woo! I'm on the plane. And next to me is this 24-year-old gal. And I'm trying to engage her in a conversation because I want her to ask me what I do. So I wanted to tell her. So we start talking, and she starts talking about herself, yada, 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 not shut up. I mean, like I want to hear any of that, blah, 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 on and on. Finally, she takes a break, and she says, well, what do you do? I said, well, Thank you for asking. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of the Eastman Kodak Company. And she said, "Who's that?" Absolutely true story. When I got to Kodak, I decided I wanted to test the mettle of my team, find out what kind of team I had at the time. And so what I did was I got to the rooms early before I had the meetings. And I would go up to the clock on the wall, much like these clocks you see here at a school or an institution or a big corporate buildings. They're everywhere. And I got up on a chair and I moved the clock ahead by about 20 minutes. So that when people came in, they'd look at the clock and they'd look at their watch and look at the clock and look at their watch and look at the clock, and then they'd check the sheet of paper and see what time it was supposed to start. And they would go, "What time do you have? What time do you have?" And then they would determine amongst themselves the clock was wrong. And then the conversation would be, well, that's not right. Someone should do something about this. And then they would go on and think we should form a committee and get people interested. Maybe there's somebody we should call. Yes, I know a department. I know someone who's in charge of all the clocks and all the buildings here at Kodak. All 674 buildings. There's got to be someone that's in charge of clocks. Let's get a hold of this. This is outrageous. And I swear to you, this is true. This would go on. And so finally I just say, well, move on. And the next day, people would walk in, they'd look at the clock, look at their watch, look at the clock, look at their watch, go through the same thing over and over. And finally I just said, why doesn't someone just do something? And a woman got up. She went over to the clock and she put a chair up underneath the clock. She hiked up her dress, she stood up and she changed the clock. I named her my chief of staff the very next day. Right? Running like $1 billion business today. Awesome. She's a clock changer. That's what we're looking for. That's what we need in our business. That's what we have to become. We have to be clock changers. We see something that needs to be done, we got to fix it. Whether it's social media, adapt to change, do something.